Hi, everybody. Paul Gray here. Thank you for joining me on the third day this week of our little series on stories about unconditional love. Many years ago, when I was in school at the University of Kansas, I had a work-study job. I worked for the band director at KU, Russell Wylie, who was a wonderful man. He was already a legend by the time I got there for a number of different things, and he was wonderful to work for. And I worked for him for 5 years, part-time during the school year and full-time in the summer. And while I was working for him, I was also, of course, going to school. I was a music education and trumpet major, so I had to practice. I didn't have to. I liked to practice a lot, and I played in a lot of different groups. Well, one of my jobs for Mr. Wiley was music librarian for the bands. And in the summer, with the music camp, there were a lot of different bands. There were concerts going on all the time. And my job was to get the music prepared for them each week, then take it to each rehearsal, take it to each concert, make sure that they had it there. I was also playing in some different music theater shows that summer. And so one day, I'm playing in a show called Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. It was a fun show, and I had a lot of fun with it. And we were playing in an outdoor setting where people were seated around, but there were also people coming and going and walking, sort of like Starlight Theater in Kansas City or the Muni in St. Louis or places like that. So I'm there playing trumpet, having a good time, and all of a sudden I see my band director and my boss, Mr. Wiley, who was at the time in his mid-60s. I saw him walking by carrying this heavy box that I knew had music in it for a band that was playing next door. And I realized I had spaced out and forgot that I had to do that for my job while I was also playing in this other thing. And I could have gotten somebody to cover it for me, but I just spaced it out. And here was this older man, a great gentleman, my boss, very revered. He had gotten to the concert to warm the band up, and they had no music. So he went back, walked the equivalent of about a block to where the music was stored, got the box, carried it up the stairs, carried it across the lawn where I was playing, and he looked at me and he saw me playing while I was carrying this. He just looked at me, no expression on his face, and went on. Well, I was devastated. So the minute my performance was over, I found him. I told him what had happened, and I said, I'm so sorry. I cannot believe that I spaced that out. I can't believe that I did that to you. You know, obviously, if you want to fire me or punish me or whatever, I deserve it. And he just smiled and said, don't worry about it. He gave me complete grace, unconditional love. He could have done any number of things. He never even brought it up again, never said anything about it, never brought it up, just acted like it didn't happen. Now, of course, I never did anything like that again, at least with my job with him. So I learned several lessons. I learned to be more responsible, but more importantly, I learned what it feels like to receive unconditional love and acceptance and value and inclusion. There was never any question about his love for me. I wouldn't have called it love at the time. His concern for me, his care for me, his acceptance of me. That was a wonderful thing. And I learned to do that. I haven't always done it as well as he did, but I've learned to do that with other employees that I've had through the years and things like that. To me, that was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time of receiving unconditional love. So I think I said third day earlier. This is the second day this week of our series on stories of unconditional love. Send me some of yours. I'd love to talk about them. If you can make a video and send it to me, put it on YouTube, I'll be glad to include that instead of one of my things. So thanks for watching. This is Paul Gray. See you next time.